Hello guys, welcome back. This is David. I hope you're doing well. I want to put on my FRM instructor hat here and talk about risk, talk about studying for the FRM. For me, the FRM was 2004, my own FRM exam, but I've been helping students pass their FRM since 2009. Let's talk about some ideas. Let's check it out. Now, whilst everyone is different, I really hope that in this video there are some hints and tips and ideas that might be useful to you. Now, one of the first things to say to you guys here is if you have an interest in the topic, if you want to build a career in risk, whether you're new to risk or whether you're already working in risk, then the FR is most certainly gonna help you. All you need really is that kind of desire to learn more, the interest in the topic, and I do believe that it's an enjoyable one to follow through. One of the reasons why I think risk can be very enjoyable is it's real life. In the FRM, we do spend a bit of time both looking backwards at risks, at risk events, but also looking forward not only to the current issues, but looking forward as well too. So the FRM is quite learning from the past, but it's also looking forward to the future risks as well. Now, if your interest and your desire here is strong enough, that's going to give you the motivation, commitment you're going to need because you will be tested. The reason why you'll be tested, guys, is the volume of material. So the biggest number one tip I can give you is to start as early as possible. Starting early as possible, time to number one, to read the material. Now we can help you, save you time by watching our classes. So if you can ideally read a chapter first, and the great thing about the on-demand classes, it fits with your own timing, your own schedules. You can pause, you can rewind, you can fit them in as fits your own lifestyle. Now, reading and watching the classes is only really half what you need because you've also got to practice. Now, the FRM is not a recall exam in general. Some exams where you need to learn every sentence, every fact. That's not at all how the FRM works. FRM is an application exam where there are key risk concepts you need to apply. Now, many of these risk concepts relate to real life. They relate to past risk events. And so when you are reading a particular chapter, then try to understand what's the key lesson, what's the key risk lesson that the FRM program wants me to learn from this reading. Focus less on the fine print, focus more on the key ideas. So guys, the process of these three things here, I'm going to just highlight them here to make it really clear. Yes, there's a lot of reading involved. For example, in FRM Part 1, there are around about 60 or so readings to go through. FRM Part 2, over 96 or so readings, varying each year a little bit. So there's a heck of a lot of reading. The classes can really help you. Now, in the classes, we go through the key areas, we explain the concepts. So after that combination, that's when you want to make sure and get some applied practice. Now, the practice, guys, is geared towards the learning outcome statements. So very important you get the coverage of those and complete the Q bank. Now, as you progress through, why not reach out and get some help along the way? Doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter, again, whether you're studying on your own or whether perhaps you've got study partners, you can get some help from instructors. And also, in our community forum as well, plenty of other students as well studying the same thing that you are. You can network, you can create study groups, you can get answers in that way as well. And instructors, guys, play a part in the forum as well too. Let's draw a line though here. Because once you've been through all the material, you've practiced, you've watched the classes, you're going to reach the review phase. Now, a big tip here would be to leave yourself, I would say, at least 3 to 4 weeks. At least 3 to 4 weeks time to do the review. Now, here, Kaplan Schweser, the on-demand review, covers plenty of a refresher and recap, and plenty of online Q&A questions as well, review questions. So you've practiced as you've been going through, you're refreshing in that review phase. We incorporate a lot of the GARP questions within our review products as well. The instructor support kind of ramps up as well here. Perhaps you're also reaching out a bit more to get those final key areas right. The Kaplan mocks and also the GARP mocks are around there as well too. So as far as planning your time, guys, here, make sure you have time to do these activities. Each of the readings has a key idea, a key reading, a key message to look out for. Don't get caught up in the weeds. When you are studying as well, try and build some momentum by making it into your daily routine, whether it might be mornings or later on, lunchtimes. Try and find a bit of a routine there. That way, it's more kind of connected. Your study has a lot more momentum, and I find that's much more productive if you can. When you are looking through, as I mentioned above here, it's not a realistic goal to try and recall everything. It's not a recall exam. It's an application exam, an applied exam. So if you aim to learn, say, 90% of every topic, you'd have far more content than you would need, and keep moving. It's important, guys, to keep momentum going to moving through with 96 readings, for example, or 60 odd in part 1. Reading alone with exams like the FRM or CFA is not going to be anywhere near enough. And that's where I mentioned the QBank and the revision program comes in, the review course as well. Practice, practice, practice. Yes, you might circle back and reread parts, but you need to apply everything. When you're faced with some tricky parts, reach out for help via way of the instructors link, also the community forum. Get a hand. We find only a relatively small proportion of students do this, but by goodness, they get their money's worth. So you should as well. As you have instructors available to help you, a whole team of people, you might as well use them as well. You don't have to study the topics in order either. Personally, I never do exams in order either. I'll always pick on the easier topics or ones that I'm interested in. I'll do them in my own order. It really changes the whole experience. So don't feel you have to be chained to the order they're presented. Particularly with the on-demand resources now, you can tailor it. So if you work in market risk or operational risk, you might want to check in with that first. See what it has to say about something that you know quite a bit about, build upon your strengths, and then you progress far quicker through the material as well. Come across perhaps a new area, again, get a bit of help, watch the videos, watch the recordings to build new strengths. Now, talking about strengths and development areas, here are all the topics in part 1, part 2 currently. I mentioned about part 1 having fewer readings, just over 60, whereas part 2, look at that, 96 readings. And that's reflected in 4 topics and 6 topics. I know you'll probably know this, but since 2009, the exam's been chopped into 2 parts. It's not there 2 levels, they've just been cut into 2. When I did my exam in 2009, it was one, they called it the full FRM, where everything was joined together. At that time, I had something like 9 topics. So yeah, we've got there our 10 topics nowadays. So just bear that one in mind when you are studying for the FRM. It's going to be a good deal of content. Now, I mentioned already that the FRM is a combination of words and also numbers. People have different skills. So how are you on the numbers? How are you on the words? Do you work with both or do you work with one or the other? And so it might be that you need a bit of a hand or a bit of extra training. Perhaps it's in the calculations, or perhaps it's in some of those wordy areas, whether it might be risk regulation or risk theory. So everyone has a different blend of background and experience. But guys, that's where the courses will really help you. If you have weaknesses, development areas, we all do, then we do have training available. We have instructors that can really help you beef those up. With the calculations, for example, particularly more in part one, we take you through them step by step. We build upon what you already know. Plenty of practice on the calculator to get you through those. And then with part two, yes, there are going to be more wordy areas, particularly areas like operational risk, also liquidity and treasury risk, and finally current issues. But what makes the FRM guys so enjoyable, I suppose, is the real life, the practical risk issues, risk regulations all around us, and factoring in the new areas, climate as well, things like digital currencies coming in there as well, Bitcoin blockchains as well. So guys, as you can tell, I'm a big fan of the FRM. Very enthusiastically support all candidates that guys are going through, and as far as reaching out for help, getting support, that's what we're here for. So going to wish you all the very best with your studies. Hope it's been a useful video, and guys, best wishes with your FRM.